Hi, I'm Captain Larry Bell with Texas Fishing Tips, and this is your weekly fishing report.
Yeah, from Rattlesnake Reef all the way down here over Mesquite Bay down to Cedar Bayou Flat, this whole area down here. Tremendous shoreline to work, great structure that's all been in here. And again, uh, we've had that disturbance down in the Campeche Bay down in Mexico, so it's pushed more water back into our system again. So it's opened up more opportunities and more areas for you to fish. I'm hoping you have the opportunity to take advantage of that to get back into some areas you may not been able to fish before. The Cedar Flat area, whole shoreline, 200, 300 yards out. It's a great area to wade this. Tremendous amount of grass, tremendous amount of bait. Topwater action has been very good up in this particular area here. A little slow at times. You get the slaps and the swirls in the few takes ever so often. If that continues to happen, especially if you're throwing your topwater bait, put on you a plastic, or if you got one of your fishing people that are close to you, get them to throw in there behind that topwater bait and get that bait down in front of their face in the water just a little bit, and you'll have a few more takes that way, technique-wise. Little island that's this down here, just work around this area here. Redfish are scattered over the top of this, in and around that little island, all the way up on the shoreline. Trout have been scattered in and out of this area here, out on the edge, up against the shoreline. Again, it's just tide dictates this particular area pretty well. The consistency of it has been kind of hit or miss, with the mouth of it right there with Cedar Bayou coming in and out with the flow. So we could get on there on some days and knock it out of the park, and other days you're having to grind for them. But that's fishing, and that's how it goes from time to time. So the thing is when you're looking for your keys, looking for your bait, looking for your structure, those are always, it doesn't matter what estuary that you fish in, that carries anywhere that you go. Those are always just simple things, principle-wise, that you want to look for whenever you fish a new area or an area that you fish several times. Key baits that we've been using the last couple of weeks, one of them's been the staple for me for the all summer long, from springtime until today, has been the Twisted Tea Original and Twisted Tea Burner Size. They've been just fine. Those particular baits have been great. They're continuing to produce. They're continuing to do well. Again, 16th ounce jig head is all we're throwing. I'm not throwing anything heavier than that, because if you're doing that, that's going to get you down into that grass pretty quick, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to work those baits in and out of those grassy areas. The other baits that's been very productive for us outside of a topwater bait that I mentioned earlier has been the knock and tail lures in both the heavy metal, the greenback, the watermelon red has been very good. We're on the backside of our full moon. Extra water that's been pushed in here. Everything's been pushed around, the bite frames in and around the full moon phase. So whenever you decide that you're going to fish one of those, if you get the opportunity to, if you can incorporate that into your fishing day, make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to work that area during that fishing phase. Don't cut it short. Fish the whole thing. It's a 2-hour. Each one of them are roughly 2 hours long as far as the amount of time frame that's in that bite phase. So fish it 2.5 hours, fish it 3 hours, but give yourself plenty of opportunity to work that area, because you don't know whenever that bite's really going to kick in for you. You just have to watch your keys, pay attention to what's going on with the fish and how they're working. Continue to work down on the shoreline, down toward the mouth of the point there that comes down into Cedar Bayou. It's been pretty good as well. Again, scattered redfish, scattered trout, a few flounder every once in a while. We've pulled out of this area as well. Again, the same baits that I just mentioned, incorporate you a little john in there, even maybe the double D. There's been a lot of floating grass that's been up in this area here, so you have to kind of contend with that. But we're gonna start probably having some little cool fronts start pushing down. It's going to start doing things for us. It's going to hopefully turn these fish on as far as wanting to eat, kind of get them into a frenzy somewhat. But those are some of the things we need to pay attention to. Prefrontal bites will be really good during that time frame, so always incorporate that into your day. Again, look for your keys, look for your bait, incorporate those particular baits around your bite frame, and you'll locate your fish. The Paul's Mott area, Long Reef Bend, one of my favorite areas to really fish, to work all this area up in here. Again, with all the extra water we've had pushed back in here for us, these shorelines have lit up. The back lakes all up and down here towards Sherman's, all that area back in there. You can get back in these back lakes with that tremendous amount of water that's been pushing. So if you got your boat it's a super skinny boat, if airboats, you don't have to worry about it. One of these Poland skiffs, they're back in there a lot. So, but if you've got a boat that's typically not able to do that during this time frame when this water has been pushed up, you might have an opportunity to get back in there if you so choose. When you're working Long Reef Bend, you've got 5, 6, 7 miles that drop off that go back to those back lakes. They're little cuts, little guts that come in there. It's been great. There's a great opportunity in there. There's scattered redfish that are over the top of those flats that are in there. There's been some decent trout that's being caught out on the edge on the drop where the duck blinds are at. There's a shelf that's right there. If you work those duck blinds and you kind of line them up, you can walk duck blind to duck blind and stay on that edge. And there's a little bit of a very subtle drop that's there, and there's lots of scattered grass that's out on the edge of that thing. There's lots of grass that's up on the flat side of it. So it lends itself to give you great opportunities in a lot of different things. So if you got 2 or 3 guys, 4 guys, whatever, or gals that want to get up there and wade that, you can spread yourself out on it, and you can really cover some water, and you can locate you some fish. The main things that we've been primarily catching off of these have been the redfish. Again, scattered trout that are in there. There's been some 17s and some 18s have been nice fish. But again, topwater bait, you got to contend with floating grass again. Of course, we've had hadn't had a whole lot of southeast breeze here over the last couple of weeks. Primarily been east, northeast, northwest. So it's been kind of pushing around from that area. So it's kind of set it up a little bit different. It's pushing that grass back in there. So if we can get a consistent push of southeast breeze to push that and clean that line, that grass off of there, that'll really open that thing up for that topwater action to be up in there. So if you got inline hooks, so you can put some single hooks on your topwater baits, that will help with that, but it makes it a little bit difficult when you're having to continually work with grass. That said, again, the 16th ounce jig heads on the original down south and the Twisted Tea and the burner shads have been good. White ice has been good as well. Purple rain has been in there. Some chicken of the sea and the burner shad as well have been some other colors that we have thrown and had good production with those. The mossback and the knock and tail and the heavy metal have been 2 primary things that's been working the best for me. Also, another flavor in the knock and tail is called honeydew. It's a really real bright green with the creamish belly on it. We've had some good production with that one as well. So just a different flavor that you can throw in there and incorporate into your arsenal as far as your plastics go. Again, topwater bait's been good. Double D's have starting to really work. I don't throw the Double D as much as I do as I throw the plastics, but with the extra water, that Double D is really good into that 24, 26-inch depth of water, knee to thigh deep, and you can really kind of bang that thing down there and just kind of let it suspend a little bit. So these fish are kind of hanging out there in just a little bit deeper water. But again, with more water pushed in here, we've had more opportunities. Come on up here to Jaybird, get in these back lakes that are back here all the way around, again, around to Sherman's. The whole shoreline has been lit up on the outside. If you don't want to get in the back lakes, that's fine. There's plenty of opportunity on the front side. Find your bait, which there's been plenty of that. Find your structure and your grass. Just take your time working these areas. Again, incorporate your majors and minor into those particular areas, and you'll locate fish. Shell Point, all the way around to Turtle Pen area. This whole shoreline back in here, it sets up pretty well with you have a southeast breeze, and then if you get you that northeast breeze here, you can get back in here and tuck yourself away. You've got some back lakes that dump out into this, and they've been okay. They haven't been super productive as far as fish go, but we've pulled a fish or 2 out every once in a while that's been back in here. So you just can kind of continue to work all this area back in here. Locate your bait on these areas, on this point. Now, as you get back into the actual turtle pen area back in here, there's several more back lake mouths that dump out into this particular area. So we've been working those, spending time with that, being patient with it. Really kind of targeting the major or the minor bite, whichever has set up for us in this past week or 2. So each day it gives you a different opportunity when you work in these areas, primarily back here. Main thing I've been throwing back in this area has been the Twisted Tea in both the burner and the original, and the knock and tail in the heavy metal. That's the 3 flavors right there in this particular area. If one of them haven't really produced, switch over to the other one, or if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 people with you, everybody have something on just a little bit different profile and size wise, and you give yourself an opportunity and kind of see what the fish are going to dictate to you. As you work this back shoreline here, some of these mouths are like super soft, so if you're going to wade this, which is best in my opinion, just be aware that as you get into those mouths, some of these get really soft, so you want to be aware of that. Out in front of them, you're okay, but when you get back up in there, that's a little bit different story. So just be aware of that if you're going to work that shoreline. And as you continue on back down toward Copano Creek, this whole back shoreline here, the grass has not been as bad here, so the topwater opportunities have been pretty good. We've had lots of opportunities, lots of action with our topwater baits. And again, topwater wise, it's whatever you like. Super Spook Junior, She Pup, She Dog, He Dog, whatever you like. As long as you got some type of white or tan belly on there, that's the main thing that you want to make sure of. Just work that. Again, we're coming off a full moon bite, so we're in our transition days headed toward a new moon, so opportunities should increase. Again, we've had more water in the system, so that water's going to drop out on us at some point in time. Once that pressure is relieved off of that Gulf system, and it starts receding that water back. So keep that in mind when you're starting to wade some of these areas, or when you're starting to work some of these areas with your boat. You don't want to get too shallow or get stuck because that tide's really dropping out. That whole back edge, again, working all those particular baits. We found lots of good fish that are back here, redfish, some scattered trout, even a couple of flounder or two we've pulled out of there. There's been some nice sized flounder that's been in these particular areas. Just working that flounder, the flounder bite's been kind of funky because, of course, I don't specifically target those all the time, but when we do catch one, it's just been kind of weird the way that the flounder bite has been. But anyway, continue to work this edge, continue to work this whole back shoreline back in here. Locate what your bait fish are doing. Again, incorporate your majors and minors into that time frame. Make sure that you're being patient with it. Again, it may not be a super quick bite as we get into transition days, because you get all different kinds of bites during that time frame. Good, bad, poor, great, terrible, whatever. It's going to be different every day as we get closer to the new moon phase. So anyway, continue to work those areas, continue to locate your bait. Those particular baits have been most productive for me in these particular areas. If you have others that you would like to throw, then I suggest that you do. Give it a shot. You never know until you do throw. So work these areas, locate your fish.
For watching, I'm Captain Larry Bell.